How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from 3 nights ago, which was December 20th, 2022. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Kenny Omega versus Hagani Shino. That was a great match. But the ending to it, Kenny Omega went over with the One-Winged Angel. Match 2, it was Action Andretti versus Invictus Cash. That was a great match. But the ending to it, Action Andretti went over with the Running Shooting Star Press. Match 3, it was Marina Shafir versus Angelica Risk. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Marina Shafir went over with the overhook stretch. Match 4, it was Parker Boudreaux versus Gus De La Vega. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Parker Boudreaux went over with the belly-to-back slam. Match 5, it was Angelico and Chaos Project, which are Luther and Serpentico, versus Richard Adonis, Jarrett Diaz, and Jay Marty. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Angelico and Chaos Project went over cause Angelico made Richard Adonis tap out to the Navarro Death Roll. Now, after the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed Angelico and Chaos Project, which are Luther and Serpentico, and Tony Schiavone brought up about Angelico and Serpentico being the Spanish announce team on AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage and everything, and talked about how they were known as the Spanish announce team and everything, and then talked about how with the addition of Luther that they were now the Spanish Announce Project and everything, and Angelico brought up about how they are the Spanish Announce Project and how not only will everyone see Angelico in the ring, but they'll see him on commentary for the Spanish commentary as well, and Serpentico translated something in Spanish and then said SAP, and then Luther tried to translate something in Spanish, but failed miserably and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. That was match 5, by the way. Match 6, it was Julia Hart versus Sahara 7. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Julia Hart went over with the Heartless. Match 7, it was Jeff Jarrett and Satnam Singh versus Dean Alexander and Rosario Grillo. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Jeff Jarrett and Satnam Singh went over cause Jeff Jarrett pinned Rosario Grillo with the stroke. Now, before the match, as Dean Alexander and Rosario Grillo were out in the ring, Jeff Jarrett and Satnam Singh came out. Well, Jeff Jarrett got on the microphone and cut a promo talking about how when he made his debut on AEW Dynamite, he cracked Darby Allin in the head with the guitar, and talked about how he said how once he's done with AEW, he's going to make sure everybody's in body bags, and how he brought an extra body bag in his guitar and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. And after the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed Jeff Jarrett and Satnam Singh, and Tony Schiavone brought up about Jeff Jarrett and him knowing each other and going way back and everything, and Jeff Jarrett talked about how him and Tony Schiavone do go way back, and Jeff Jarrett talked about how everywhere he goes he's going to leave a mark, and Max Caster knew that from from experience and everything. And Jeff Jarrett talked about how Granddaddy Ass, which is Billy Gunn, and Baby Boy Bowens, which is Anthony Bowens, are going to be next and everything. And Jeff Jarrett talked about how him and Jay Lethal are going to be the next AEW Tag Team Champions and everything. And then Jeff Jarrett put over Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. And that was match 7, by the way. Match 8, it was the Wingmen, which are Ryan Nemeth and Peter Avalon, versus Sage Scott and Jake St. Patrick. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, the Wingmen went over because Ryan Nemeth pinned Sage Scott with the hunk of love. Match 9, it was Kip Sabian versus Caleb Conley. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Kip Sabian went over with the Anarchist Suplex. Match 10, it was Jade Cargill versus Dream Girl Ellie in a TBS Women's Title Eliminator match. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Jade Cargill went over with the Jaded. And match 11, which was the main event, it was Ricky Starks versus Cesar Bononi. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Ricky Starks went over with the spear. Now after the match, Ricky Starks got on the microphone and cut a promo talking about how he has a lot to say on AEW Dynamite and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way, and that was match 11 and the main event, by the way. Now, besides the matches, Julia Hart cut a promo talking about how when she first came to AEW, she was an innocent little cheerleader, and talked about how the House of Black, which are Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, found her true self and everything. And Julia Hart talked about how the house always wins and everything. That was cool. And Lexi Nair interviewed the Wingmen, which are Peter Avalon, Ryan Nemeth, and Cesar Bononi. And Lexi Nair was asking the Wingmen what their plans were going forward and everything. And the Wingmen talked about how 2023 was going to be their year, and how they were going to kick people's asses and everything. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Taz and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And the referees for the event were Mike Posey, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Paul Turner refereed the match between Kenny Omega versus Hagani Shino. Stephon Smith refereed the match between Action Andretti versus Invictus Cash. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Marina Shafir versus Angelica Risk. Mike Posey refereed the match between Parker Boudreaux versus Gus Della Vega. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Angelico and Chaos Project versus Richard Adonis, Jarrett Diaz, and Jay Marty. Mike Posey refereed the match between Julia Hart versus Sahara 7. Mike Posey refereed the match between Jeff Jarrett and Satnam Singh versus Dean Alexander and Rosario Grillo. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between the Wingmen versus Sage Scott and Jake St. Patrick. That was Bryce Remsburg, by the way. Mike Posey refereed the match between Kip Sabian versus Caleb Conley. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Jade Cargill versus Dream Girl Ellie in a TBS Women's Title Eliminator match. And Paul Turner refereed the match between Ricky Starks versus Cesar Bononi. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from 3 nights ago, which was December 20th, 2022. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your fucking ass down the goddamn road. Peace out.